Hello everyone, welcome to the solution of LeetCode problem 36 named valid Sudoku. In this problem, we have to determine if a 9x9 Sudoku board is valid or not. Here, we have to only determine by using these rules. Here, only the field cells need to be validated according to the following rules. Here, each row must contain digits 1 to 9 without repetition. Each column must contain the digits 1 to 9 without repetition. And each of the 9 3x3 sub-boxes of the grid must contain the digits 1 to 9 without repetition. Now here, a Sudoku board partially filled could be valid, but it is not necessarily solvable. And only the filled cell need to be validated according to the mentioned rule. Now, suppose in the first example, let's see for each row, all of the elements are unique. Suppose in the first row, the elements are 5, 3, 7. In the second row, the elements are 6, 1, 9, 5, and so on. Similarly, for each column, all of the elements are unique. So here, for the first column, the elements are 5, 6, 8, 4, and 7. And for the second column, the elements are 3, 9, 6, and so on. So here we can see that for all of the column, the elements are unique. And for each of the sub boxes, suppose in the first sub box, all of the elements are unique. In the first sub box, it has element 5, 3, 6, 9, 8. And in the second sub box, it has elements 7, 1, 9, and 5, and so on. So here we have to return true because this formation of the digits form a valid Sudoku. Now, I hope you understood the problem statement. Now let's move on to the algorithm. Now, to understand the algorithm, let's take the first example. Here, we have to determine whether this Sudoku board is valid or not. Now, we can do it by using simple strategy. Suppose for each of the row and each of the column, we will check whether each of the row and column has all of the unique value or not. Or alternatively, we can check whether is there any duplicates in the corresponding row or in the each row and in the each column. If any of the row or column has the duplicate value, that means this corresponding Sudoku board cannot become valid. This is one condition. Now, another condition is that, which is little bit of tricky, which is for each of the cell or each of the sub box, we have to check whether it has all of the unique element or not. Or alternatively, we can say that for each of the sub box, we have to check whether all of the value presented in this corresponding sub box is unique or not. Or each of the sub box does not have any of the duplicate values. So how can we do it? Simply, we can simply follow the approach we have done to determine the uniqueness of the row and the column. Similarly, for each of the sub box, we will generate a Boolean array. Suppose how many sub box in this grid? There are 9 possible sub box. One is this, another 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 is this, and another is this. So for each of the element or each of the value, we have to determine in which sub box it is belongs to. Suppose, let's assume this value 9. it is presented in the second subbox, right? It is first subbox, second subbox, third subbox, fourth subbox, fifth subbox, and so on. So the value 9 presented in the second subbox. So how can we determine this position? Suppose this 9 has the corresponding column number 4 and the corresponding row number, which is, let's make a calculation. Here the calculation will be row divided by 3, round it down, multiplied by 3, plus column divided by 3 and round it down. Suppose now let's determine which box this value 9 belongs to. So here for the 9, the row value is 1 and 1 divided by 3 into 3 multiplied by 3 plus the corresponding column is 4. So here it is 4 divided by 3. Now round it down. So here it will be 0 multiplied by 3, which is 0, and 4 divided by 3, which will be 1. So here this value 9 present the sub boxes which has index number 1, because we know that the index number in the array or in any of the array related problem basically starts from 0. So 0 is the first sub box index, 1 is the second sub box index, 3 is the third sub box index, and so on. So here we have seen that by using this equation, we can determine in which sub box the corresponding value belongs to. Suppose, let's take another example. Suppose let's determine in which sub box this element 6 basically belongs to. So here, for this element 6, the row value will be 5, which will be 5 divided by 3 and multiplied by 3. And for the column, it is 8. So it will be 8 divided by 3. Now here, 5 divided by 3 and integer division, it will be 1 multiplied by 3 plus 8 divided by 3, which will be 2. So it will be 5. So according to the zero base index, it is the 6th sub box, because it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That means we can say that the element 6 basically belongs to the sub boxes which has the index number 5. So now for each of the sub box, we have to determine whether we have any of the duplicate element or not. And we can check for each of the value in which sub box this value corresponds to by using this equation. And I have explained the validity of this equation by using these examples. Now, let's summarize the example. Here in this problem, we are given a 9 by 9 grid and we have to check whether this is a valid Sudoku or not. So by definition of the valid Sudoku, each of the row in this given grid should have the unique value, and each of the column should have the unique value, and each of the 3 by 3 grid should have the unique value. So here, for each of the value, we will check whether is there any duplicate value for the corresponding row or the corresponding column or the corresponding box itself. If it is have any of the duplicate value, that means we have to simply return false. If completed iteration in all of the element did not find any of the duplicate value in the same row, same column, and the same sub boxes, finally we have to return true. I hope you understood the algorithm. Now let's move on to the code. In this problem, The code is pretty simple. At first, we are given a function named valid Sudoku, 9x9 grid. Now, we are taking three 9x9 vectors or arrays, initially all filled with the false. Here, the first array will check whether is there any of the duplicate element in the each row. The second array will check is there any of the duplicate element in each column. And the third array square, it will check is there any duplicate element for each of the corresponding square or not. Now we have to simply run two loops or two nested loops, and in each iteration we have to check whether our cell is empty or not. If our cell is empty, that means we have to do nothing here, simply go to the next iteration. Otherwise, if the corresponding cell is not empty, that means it has integer value. So here we have to calculate the index value for this corresponding value presented, which is the grid value minus character 0 minus 1, because we are subtracting -1 because we are using zero-based indexing. Now we have to determine in which area this corresponding area or this corresponding element belongs to. So here the area will be calculated divided by, which is row divided by 3 into 3 plus column divided by 3. Now we have to check whether this corresponding value presented in the row array, in the column array, or in the square array. If it is presented, that means it is the duplicate value. So here we have to return false. Otherwise, if it is not presented, that means we have to mark the corresponding entry of the row, column, and square matrix visited or true for this corresponding element. Otherwise, if the completion of this loop is over, that means here we have to simply return true, because our given grid is the valid Sudoku. I hope you understood the code. Thank you everyone for watching this video. We will get back soon with another LeetCode solution.